Hi, I'm Chelsie Czop, and today I'm joined by Eunah Lee. Eunah is a creative technologist at WPP. Eunah, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Chelsea. Hi, I'm Eunah Lee. I'm a creative technologist at WPP. I mainly work at the intersection of AI, robotics, gaming, and production innovation.
That's awesome. And so WPP and Google realized that we really needed creative technologists, a new wave of marketers to be able to use technology to bring these innovative ideas to life. So they partnered together to create a creative technologist apprenticeship. Can you tell me a little bit about how you found this creative technologist apprenticeship and your experience going through it?
Yeah, before I joined CTA, my background was in industrial design and creative computing. So in industrial design, I focus more on like functionality, precision, like mechanical engineering and purpose-driven design. And I quickly realized that I have this urge that I wanted to like see the things that I design actually work. That's why I started learning programming. But it's really hard for creative technologists to join the industry itself because there's only few unicorns, we call it in the industry, creative technologist unicorns in each agencies, but there's not a lot of opportunities for junior talents to join the industry. And this was perfect. The CTA was perfect for me because it actually gives you 9 months of training from AI, generative AI, from machine learning to virtual production or gaming and even robotics. And it kind of like equips you with the skill set that you need to join the industry itself. And then after the 9 months of training, I joined WPP as a creative technologist.
Oh, that's awesome. And we have a similar background. I'm a mechanical engineer by trade, and I went into mechanical because I wanted to actually touch and feel and bring things to life. So I can definitely relate to that. How has your perspective on creativity changed once you started working with AI versus traditional creative tools or after you went through the program?
Before I joined WPP, I actually worked in consulting and another advertising, so like direct competitor of WPP, as a traditional designer. And coming from the traditional design background in those industry, my perspective on creativity used to be very role based. So engagement team would build the client relationship, strategists would find insights, and then designers jumps in to design the product. But I think AI and technology kind of like enabled me to think a little bit more project based. So because I operate at the intersection of different roles, it kind of like naturally made me to think more proactively and try to understand the bigger picture of like where does my role in this project position. So it kind of like allowed me a chance to zoom out and think about the entire ecosystem of the project rather than focusing on like one task I got. So now I'm thinking, why does this partnership exist? Like Google partnership with WPP too. And how can this project, like the specific project I did for Spot and Google, kind of like bring value to Google or and WPP at a higher level?
Oh, that's so cool. To kind of bring everything together and see how the technology powers it. I think that's awesome. What was the, I guess, most challenging part of the program for you?
I think definitely the most challenging part is kind of having that feeling of you don't belong there.
Oh, the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of women in tech actually have to fight with this. Like as an Asian woman who doesn't have an engineering degree, like when you first join the program, like technical program, the first thing you think about is like, am I too late? I don't have a degree. Like, am I too late? And then at this program, I realized most of my colleagues felt the same way. I remember on my first month when I joined, I was talking to one of my colleagues and she was telling me that I feel like I'm the least talented person in this room. And I told her the same thing. I feel the same way. So I think after that conversation, we realized everyone's feeling that way and everyone's talented. We see each other as a super talented person. We just have this lack of confidence in ourselves that we have to bring up. And I think what was amazing about this opportunity and this apprenticeship was that we worked together. We teach each other. We like pushed each other. We teach each other. We don't judge each other by their skill set because everyone comes from different industry. We value, like, if someone's an illustrator, they're amazing at illustration, but they're less technical. But I'm more technical. I'm really bad at visual output. So I would ask how for that, and they'll ask how for me about programming. So we actually like helped each other and grew together.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's amazing that you could all support each other, but I understand. Coming from a mechanical background, I've never learned any programming. So coming into cloud and bringing everything together in the cloud to me was something completely different when I first started. But it's true, everybody has their own strengths and brings different perspectives to the role. And I'm so glad you were all able to support each other. So for other women looking to enter the physical AI space through programs like WPPs, what would your advice be? And to you, what was the steepest part of the learning curve? The hardware, the AI, the theory, or maybe the creative application?
Yeah, as a woman who doesn't have an engineering degree, I think my first thought naturally was that, like, oh, am I too late? Because like physical AI or robotics seems like an area full of geniuses, people who have PhD, which is still probably true, and we do know we do need those intellectuals to pioneer the technology. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot start experimenting with it. I think robotics are now becoming more universal, and I think now is the best time to jump in. So for me, the steepest part wasn't actually the hardware or like learning the technology itself, but it was to overcome the fear of starting. And my advice for that to that situation is just don't be scared and just try. I think we're in an era where learning is more accessible than ever. We have so many forms of learning, especially with AI. So what truly matters now is your curiosity and your ambition. I think we're at a point where people are more important than ever, talent, people. The industry and technology move so fast. So having that people with curiosity and ambition, that rigorous, adventurous thinking, who would be willing to evolve and grow with the technology would be the key.
I completely agree with you. And you're right. This is the time now. There's no barriers to be able to get started. I grew up on a farm, and one of my childhood friends who's a farmer, we were actually just working on vibe coding an application for him to be able to help manage his farmland and across the property. So somebody with no background in this area is able to get started. It's impressive that you can do that with just your natural language now.
Wow, that's really cool.
And you mentioned to me that you built a digital twin of yourself. Can you tell me a little bit about how you did that? That's awesome. I want to create the same.
Yeah, so at CTA, because my background is industrial design and more of an engineering side, and a lot of my colleagues who come from visual art, and I wanted to really learn that and like challenge myself to think more visually. And at that moment, we received a brief to create your digital twin, and it could be any form. Like it could be inspired by the character you love, or it could be very abstract. But instead of taking it like abstract approach, I set myself a challenge to recreate the most realistic human of myself, which was 2023 version of myself. And it was a partnership project with NVIDIA. NVIDIA have this software called Omniverse, where you can have a really high fidelity USD 3D file inside a software. So I wanted to create a 2023 copy of myself in NVIDIA Omniverse that looks like me, thinks like me, and talks like me. So there were a few pointers that I wanted to tackle. So for physical form, I used Blender, Unreal, MetaHuman, and hair particles to design all the hairs. And for the eyes, I use Google Cloud Vision. So I took the webcam input straight through Google Cloud Vision, and the Google Cloud would output the labels of the objects that it detected and the face and the emotion of the person it's seeing. And for the brain, because I wanted to essentially like talks like me and know the knowledge of who I am and the tone I'm using and the word I use often. So I trained it with a large language model with embeddings. And for embeddings, because I'm bilingual, I'm Korean, I wanted to use both of my identity of both languages. So I used a data set of my WhatsApp data set and also KakaoTalk. KakaoTalk is the biggest chat application in Korea. So I exported from those two apps the whole chat data of myself and just made it into embedding and put it into a large language model. So it kind of like knows how to talk like me. And for the voice, I use ElevenLabs for voice cloning. And finally, I put everything together and streamed the final audio to NVIDIA Audio to Face. So I streamed the conversation into a 3D model that I made. So it matches the movement of the mouth and like the expression to the audio.
That's awesome. You should have brought your digital twin with you today. Did you ever use your digital twin to talk to maybe your family or your friends?
Not yet, but that's a great idea. I eventually, when I did it, I wanted to do it in 5 years. It's like a time capsule
Oh,
that
that's
I would,
awesome.
yeah, I wanted to open up the file in 5 years and I wanted to talk to it. And I wanted to see how different I was.
What a great present to yourself, and to also kind of encapsulate what every year's like and to be able to look back. I love that idea. So you mentioned earlier you did some work with Google Cloud and WPP's Spot robot. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we had an amazing opportunity as a part of a partnership between Google and WPP. So with the launch of new TPU that launched this Google Next, we got a chance to go to the Google Cloud data center, and we have a robot called Spot, which is a robot dog. It's specially built just for us, WPP. So we have a camera extension at the end of Spot, and it's a film unit. So we went to the Google data center to film the new TPU, and the footages was used for the launch.
Oh, that's awesome. And I believe WPP's Spot also runs on our G4 VMs, and you're able to get a 10x improvement on how you're able to do the training. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you train Spot?
Yeah, so for reinforcement learning, we use Google MuJoCo and NVIDIA ElevenLabs. So the 3D file format that we use is called USD. So we start with a 3D file of Spot, and then we feed it into Isaac Sims with the reword script. So it's a Python script that has all the rewords, like what the goal that we want Spot to learn, with all the joint position, navigation, and angle that we want Spot to move. And then we use RSLRL, which is a form of reinforcement learning algorithm to do the training. And we do it in either MuJoCo, which is Google model, or NVIDIA ElevenLabs. And then it outputs all the checkpoints of the training. And then we finally get something called a policy file. And eventually we would put it into an NVIDIA just an Orin, which is like a computer. And we can have it as onboard on Spot. And then the policy would run on Spot.
Very cool. So, Eunah, tell me about how you're looking to optimize Spot in the future.
So with G4 VMs reducing training cycle from 24 hours to 60 minutes, it will be dramatically change the production itself. So sim to real is the biggest challenge for us. So from sim, when we do it on the shoot day, it's really unpredictable. Like the camera moves needs to change dependent on the site that we're in. And one of the challenges with humanoid and quadruped robot operator would be that flexibility of changing camera moves, which is the sim rewards that I mentioned before. And adapting and balancing to the situation. So shortening that sim training would be into a real robot would help the production so much more.
That's so neat, Eunah. Could you maybe give us a glimpse as to any projects that you're working on in the future that we might see?
Yeah, so we've been working really closely with Google on the newest model launches, and I was excited to see the new Gemma 4 model launched. And I'm working closely with other creatives on integrating agents into workflows.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I can't wait to see you bring it to life. Thanks so much for coming and having a conversation with me, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much for having me.